All right. Hey, everybody. Um, Wanted to get on here and real quick record the lecture today. Go ahead, hear this. So, don't mind my dog here. I'm going to go ahead and show you all what we have here on Blackboard right now. So, under learning plans, we'll have week 6. I'm going to make this available right now. This recording is going to be up here. You'll be able to click it on this link, of course, just like all the others. But for this year, time around, I have a Cougar Connections PowerPoint assignment. And so if you download this assignment document here, I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about it. Essentially, what it's going to be is a PowerPoint presentation that you're going to create. Now, you're going to play the role of a person that is working at Midstate. And that's under a scenario here. And basically, it says you're presenting the digital marketing program as a virtual presenter to prospective students to the program. And what Midstate has is an event that's called Cougar Connections. And so what we do is we have presenters that stay in virtual rooms where students can actually jump into the rooms very much like this here, this Teams meeting room, and people can kind of jump in and out during presentations as the person is basically presenting what they do for the college and what students can expect in the different programs. And then so what you all are going to do is actually be that presenter and present the digital marketing program and all of its benefits to the student in a PowerPoint presentation format. And you'll share your screen a lot how I'm doing here, but with your PowerPoint presentation. And so let's talk a little bit more about this. For the audience for the presentation you'll develop will include high school students, right? So that's who you're speaking to in this presentation. So you'll think about what kind of language you'll want to be using for them, how your inflection is going to be. You don't want to be like super uptight or super polished or buttoned up, if you will. You want to be maybe a little bit more relaxed, but not too unprofessional. You want to jump in there with a hoodie and everything, right? They're high school students, so you want to make them feel comfortable and not make them feel intimidated by your presence. So you have to be able to connect with them. So as you're giving this presentation, think that you are talking to this person, even though you can't see them in front of you, but they are a high school student. So they're going to get bored really easily. They might be rolling their eyes. Luckily, you won't be seeing that. So you'll want to make sure that if you go off on a tangent, a lot of us do that in front of a screen, you catch yourself. You're able to catch yourself and then move forward through the presentation so you don't, lose them, if you will. It's a lot easier for you to lose somebody in a virtual presentation because they can quote unquote leave the room much quieter and quicker and incognito than if they were in the present. So it's harder for someone to walk away if they're right there with you without feeling too awkward than it is for them to just click X on the window and then just move on. So you have to be really cognizant of that, making sure that you're understanding that audience. There'll also be working professionals in the audience as well. So that's what I'm trying to say, that you don't want to be too buttoned up, but you don't want to be too casual like either. Um, so there's that too. I think for the majority of the audience here for Cougar Connections, it's going to be the high school students though, but you'll have the working professionals sprinkled in. That's how the real life situation goes. Um, it's important to approach the situation with a general archetype of buyer types in mind. So here are some buyer types to keep in mind when you're crafting a presentation. And so we haven't talked about these two buyer types, but there's two, now there's more than two buyer types. There's actually 4 buyer types, but there's two that I have outlined in this presentation, in this assignment, that I want you guys to keep in mind. The one is called the simplicity seeker buyer. So that person is the buyer type that looks at the highest level of impact that it's going to have on them in the long run. So they're the tell me the bottom line person, right here. So for example, for manufacturing industry, a high level benefit of them acquiring the product or acquiring the service might be time saved by virtue of efficiency on the production line by buying the product. So it's not this product looks cool, this product has X, Y, and Z functions that's going to get you the benefits. No, it's this product is going to save you X amount of dollars if you run it on your press for X amount of time. That's the simplicity seeker buyer. That's the what's in it for me, tell me the bottom line benefit. And so when you craft this presentation, keep this simplicity seeker type buyer in mind. When you're saying this information and communicating this information to the high school student or the working professional, speak to them in a way that tells them the bottom line. This is what you're going to get out of the program. You're going to get a degree. You're going to be able to get some opportunities through your classes to put together some work that you could show future employers or put on your resume if you won any awards or competitions in your classes, or taking on projects in your classes that might be doing things for other businesses in the community to which you can put in a portfolio and things like that. So if the program, in this case, presentation, here's the digital marketing program. If the digital marketing program can get you experience using Adobe Creative Software, the bottom line to that isn't, well, you'll be able to use the Adobe Creative Software. The bottom line benefit to that is you will be able to work within the creative industry as a graphic designer, as a marketing specialist, and so on, and so, or social media marketer, a content specialist, and so on and so forth. So that's like kind of the bottom line. It's not like the tools that you'll learn, it's what the outcomes of you learning the are. So those are kind of some of those things. Perhaps some people might be interested in the university transfer aspect of the program. They want to take some classes and transfer over to a 4-year program. The bottom line to that is 2 years, a 2-year degree in the digital marketing program here at Midstate. What you tell your audience is you will transfer over a junior as a junior status to a 4-year school. That's bottom line, benefit stuff. So that's the simplicity seeker buyer type, and the type of things they're looking for is what's in it for me, what's the bottom line. The details put aside, it doesn't really matter. What matters to me is what my outcomes are. So think outcomes for that buyer. The other buyer is the fact-based buyer. The fact-based buyer is a buyer that focuses on the intricate details of how a product works. So this is the type of person that when you're at the Apple store looking at the computers, they're not the simplicity seeker buyer who's like, hey, I just need a computer that's going to get me to be able to use graphics programs and video programs and watch and stream videos efficiently. Or this is not the buyer that's saying, I just want a gaming computer. I want to be able to play all kinds of different games and talk to my friends online at the same time while also streaming on my YouTube channel. That's the simplicity seeker buyer. This is the outcomes that they're looking for. This fact-based buyer wants to know how much RAM does this machine have? How many gigs does the machine have? How much how much memory does the machine have? And things of that nature. They want to know the working ins and outs and functions of it that are available. What kind of cooling system does it have? They want to know the intricate facts behind it. They want to know the numbers and the details. So I have a example of that here, and for the manufacturing industry, a detail on how the product works could be the electrical supply specs needed on a production line to install the product. For the educational industry, it's just our industry that we're talking about here now in this project. A detail about how a product works could be a breakout of the individual classes in a program needed to get the degree, or details of projects offered in required classes. I wouldn't. Now, that's not to say that the fact-based buyer is going to want to see every single class that's available for every single semester from beginning to end in a PowerPoint presentation. Because I'm going to share a video with you that shows that less is essentially more, about, and I'll talk about that later on in this document as far as like a strategy for a presentation on how to. But effectively it's 1/3 of the information in your PowerPoint presentation should be written out in the PowerPoint itself. The rest should be visual. And then 2/3 of what you have in your presentation will just be words. It will not be written down. So you're not necessarily reading to somebody, much as like what I'm doing here in this document as I'm going through it with you in review. When you're presenting something, you're going to have maybe a couple sentences, a few bullet points on a slide, but that's high level stuff. Most of the stuff you're going to be doing is reciting and talking. And so what that does is that keeps people looking at a screen, looking at an image while you're talking, and they're not losing interest because you're not reading to them. If you start reading to people and they're like watching the words, get recited as you're reading it to them, they're going to lose total interest. They're going to be, they're just going to, they're going to fall off really quick. So if you have some kind of fun imagery, something to get people potentially to laugh in best case scenario in your presentation, that would be excellent. Say you have like a picture of a stressed out college student just like holding their head like, oh my gosh, and then you're going over and then you're talking about, let's say that section of your presentation is like, um, tips to avoid getting overwhelmed in school with balancing a school work-life balance and family and things like that. Maybe some people in the audience might relate to an image of a stressed out college student or something like that, and they might get a giggle or a laugh, or they might have feel some empathy for the person in the image. As we as people, when we see other people in images of feeling something that we feel, and we can relate to, that draws us in, that keeps us engaged. So that's why you see a lot of how advertising is these days, is that it's mostly relatable, right? It's about showing you yourself. It's showing a mirror of yourself in the commercial, in effect, to communicate, connect with you, to sell a product. So that's kind of a side note. That's like sort of a strategy of how to make the look of the presentation more engaging by only putting a little bit of information. The reason why I'm saying that is because of the fact-based buyer buyer type. It's very easy for a designer to start putting out facts and listing them all out in the PowerPoint slide verbatim, one by one, when in reality you don't want to do that. For a fact-based buyer, if you're doing specs of a machine, let's say for instance, and you're going through the RAM, the hard drive, the this, the that, the speeds and the download speeds and whatever, instead of bulleting all those out in a slide, you have a screen that basically has a really cool picture of a computer, a lot of graphics, and then says specs on it. Okay, the big word specs, and it's real pretty looking, and it's got some cool graphic treatment to it, things like that. It's beveled and drop shadowed and every which way, and it's got a glow to it, and it's super looking awesome with a bunch of colors. That's what you want. You want a big word on there with an awesome image, and then you want to speak to the specs in the presentation back. That's just an example. So just keep that in mind. There's two other buyer types, and I'll just mention them real quick. One is the relationship-based buyer type. The relationship-based buyer type is the one that looks at what that person is selling and says, oh, hey, there's a celebrity that has this same car that I want, or this celebrity wears Louis Vuitton, or this person that I love, this rapper that I love wears, I don't even know what kind of Balenciaga shoes, right? They have a relationship with the product in some way, shape, or form. that they then buy into that product by virtue of that relationship. So they have a relationship with the celebrity. This is, for instance, and then so that's why they want to buy that type. So that buyer type is relationship based. Another, if it's a business to business a relationship based buyer, this might be a business that says, oh, look at what that business is doing, or look at the product that that business is using. Usually it's like a software product or something like that. Maybe it's, let's say it's Salesforce or Marketo, marketing software. Well, this competing college uses this marketing software, and so therefore that marketing software looks like a really good option for us because that other competing businesses using it, or collaborative businesses using that software. So it's all this relationship-based buying type. So for a marketer to communicate that relationship-based buying type to a customer, a lot of times they say, our product has been used by XYZ companies, or so on and so forth. A lot of times, let's say advertising agencies will have logos of their clients on a page on their website. We proudly serve Google, Netflix, and all these other companies, healthcare companies, what have you, schools, things like that. Some businesses have a niche market to where they're just like, hey, we're a marketing agency that just focuses on community colleges. It even goes to that granular level. And then so by virtue of the relationship they have to that company, based on their niche market, which is the community college market, let's say in this instance, then or technical college market in this instance, then that makes that product more attractive. That's what they're interested in. Now that would be the buyer type that is interested in that stuff. That's not to say that this person that is a relationship-based buyer wouldn't have simplicity seeker buyer tendencies. If there's a celebrity that they follow and they wear Balenciaga shoes, but they hate the color, well, this buyer might say, well, I don't have any outfits to match this color, because their outcome, right, their total bottom line and goal for buying in the first place is to have something that's versatile for what their style of outfits are. Then they won't pick the bright, hot pink shoe that, whatever celebrity person is wearing, that Balenciaga version, the pink shoe of the Balenciaga shoe, pink version of the Balenciaga shoe, sorry, they might choose like the black, so it goes with everything that they wear. So there's a little bit of mix there. I'd say probably in that case, 75% of their decision based on relationship, 25% of the decision is based on the simplicity seeker aspect of it. Things like that. So just keep that in mind. The only other last, but and not for this project necessarily, because although in reality, some of these high school students, right? How would they have a relationship with Midstate? Well, here's an example. Maybe their father was a graduate of Midstate. Maybe they know a friend that went to Midstate that transferred over. So that relationship between them and their father, that relationship between them and their friend would have an influence on their buying habit with Midstate. So that could come into play. So what would Midstate do in a situation like that? Well, maybe Midstate would have a person that is very visible in the community attend the presentation and give a testimonial about their Midstate journey or something to that effect. That would be beneficial to the relationship buyer that might be sprinkled in the audience there. There might be, some areas that they would get convinced to go to Midstate outside of the presentation, right? Their friend would have their own story. They would have seen their friend go through the process of going through the school and transferring over and becoming successful, and that would truly have more of an influence on them than any kind of presentation I would say. However, just the fact that Midstate had somebody else that could speak to the same experience that this person has seen their friend go through would actually validate further their preconceived bias towards Midstate by virtue of their relationship-based buying influence per se for Midstate. Last buyer type. Last buyer type. Excuse me while I type my password in here. I gotta type this in for my machine. Last buyer type. The show me buyer. The show me buyer is someone that is the person that wants to see this thing in action. They're not the fact-based buyer who is the person that is the okay, show me the stats, this, that, and the other thing. That this person wants to actually see this thing in use. So the fact-based, when you're talking about a car, the fact-based buyer is the type that's going to go to the lot. They're going to grab that piece of paper that's taped to the car window and go through everything. 17-inch wheels, aluminum, aluminum wheels, 17-inch, tinted windows, V6 engine, 3.5 liter, takes, regular gas, blah, 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 power feature, power steering, safety features, all of those things. Now, the show me buyer is going to want to see a video or is going to want to go in the car themselves to test out all the nooks and crannies and the trinkets, okay? The show me buyer might actually go online to see someone else, a review of someone else driving the vehicle on YouTube, showing, going through all the specs of the car. This car, as they're driving around, this car takes, regular gas. This car has, 17-inch wheels. This car also comes in, 3 different trims, sport, regular, blah, blah, blah. The sport comes with this, that, and the other thing, and then they'll show it, in their video and stuff. Power windows, power locks. The show me buyer is the person that wants to see the product get worked in action. Okay, they have to see it to believe it, essentially. So you have to demonstrate that to them. Now, there's a reason why we're not putting that in this presentation necessarily, is because actually you as the presenter would be the show me, would appeal to the show me buyer, in that if you were relatable to the person, if you represented the college and what it has to offer well enough in your presentation, then you would be showing them essentially the your ability to demonstrate what you learned from Midstate to deliver an accurate message to these folks. So just the fact that you are delivering an effective presentation to the audience is actually showing them the benefits of going to the school. So if you can put together a very engaging, well-polished and well-delivered presentation and have a delivery that connects with an audience, hey, you're selling the digital marketing program just in and of itself, because that's what you're doing. You're presenting and selling a product digitally, and as a salesperson, as a marketer. You don't necessarily have to be a salesperson. I am not a salesperson. I mean, maybe I am, but I never saw myself as one originally. However, I did work with a lot of salespeople, and I learned a lot of things from salespeople and tactics, and just nuances of how they spoke and communicated with people that I've absorbed and used those in business to move forward with. And so I think we all essentially are salespeople, if you think about it. You're a salesperson when you wake up to the time you go to bed. Essentially, you're trying to sell yourself to let's say a significant other. You're trying to sell yourself to a prospective client. You're trying to sell yourself to your boss. You're trying to sell yourself to your employees. You are trying to sell yourself to many different people in many different ways as you move forward in life. So sales is, I think, just a life skill too. So keep that in mind, as far as the show me buyer is concerned, is that you are actually the product that they essentially are buying, right? In this case, when you come to the table and say, hey, I'm a graduate of Midstate Technical College and I'm representing Midstate Technical College and I want to talk to you about the digital marketing program and all I've learned, well, you are the product, because the person is should be seeing themselves in you if you're doing an effective job at getting them to come on board and buy into the product. You are the product. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, just remember simplicity seeker and fact-based buyer. Keep those mindsets as you're putting these things together. What's the bottom line? And then some of the what are the details of these major points that I want to cover on my presentation. So think about this presentation as a funnel from start to finish. The funnel is wider at the top and then more specific at the end. So with the concept in mind, the beginning of your presentation, you want to be speaking generally of the program at a high level. We're looking for about 10 slides, including the title and the closing slide. So the title slide is going to be just the title of the presentation. The closing slide is essentially going to say thank you. 8 slides in between are going to be the slides of the content for the presentation. Okay, it's 8 slides, but like I said, most of earlier, and I touched on it earlier, most of the stuff you're going to be talking about essentially in the present, or most of the stuff you're going to be presenting is going to be, excuse me, is going to be spoken and not, visualized. So you could go through a couple, maybe, 2 things in one slide, or something of that nature, 2 subject matters in one slide. You could speak to the simplicity seeker and the fact-based buyer in slide 2 of the presentation, about the creative aspects of the program, and then in slide 3 you can talk about the university transfer opportunities to both the simplicity seeker and the fact-based buyer, right? Transfer opportunities for a simplicity seeker would be, here you could go to 20 plus, you could transfer over to X amount of, you can transfer over to get a 4-year degree at any of the UWs with this program, simplicity seeker. Fact-based buyer, these are the courses that can transfer over. You're not necessarily listing, verbatim all out, but you could say, X amount of credits will transfer over to any of the UWs. That's a fact-based buyer thing. They would care about the credits, the number of credits that are transferring over. They would just care about that. Some people do, some people don't. So that splits up whether you're a simplicity seeker or fact-based buyer. Not to say there can't be 2 of those buyer types in one person, but there has to be one more so than the other. 49% of my buying decision might be fact-based, but 51% is going to be simplicity seeker based. And that's kind of me, like really, I'm probably more of like a 75% simplicity seeker, 25% fact-based, because for me, I do look at what the outcomes are more so than what I have to, the little detail things I have to do to go through to get to the outcomes. Some people are different because they are in a different position. They have other responsibilities and things that they might be doing in their life to where they're more of a 75% fact-based buyer. How is this going to fit in my schedule? How long are these classes going to be? How many hours a day? How many credits am I going to get? I might have previous college credits at another school in another state. How is that going to affect? So I'm a 75% fact-based buyer to a 25% simplicity seeker-based buyer. Bottom line is everyone's got them all inside of them. It's just how much of what do you have takes priority and preference, and that just depends on who you're talking to as far as the demographic is. And those things could be affected by age, socioeconomic status, life position, whether they're single or married, whether they have children or not. All of these different factors go into a person and determines how they make buying decisions. And that's essentially a huge part about the business aspect of marketing. And then so that is covered in another class. This is focused more on the communications aspect here in the marketing communications class. Those are marketing fundamentals in and of themselves. Those are marketing fundamentals. But what we need to know as communicators is who is the audience. And what we are saying is these are either high school, these are mostly high school students looking to go to school right outside of high school. And then there could be some working professionals in there that are wanting to potentially upskill and take on another program to upskill to make themselves more competitive in the market, or they potentially could be out on looking for work currently, fresh out of a previous role and now looking for another role and trying to, again, upskill. So it's either people trying to upskill, update their skills, or people coming out of high school straight out. Okay, so yeah, what I was getting to at that point is like keeping it general in the beginning and then getting more specific as far as the detail in the end. Okay, so speaking of the program at a high level, things like cost, outcomes of the program, and type of diploma, etc. Those are kind of more in the front end, and then towards on the back end of the presentations, you get maybe more into the specific detail, high level components, like cost breakouts, books and supplies, things like that, detail things. Okay. That would be one way to approach it. Another way might be like slides 2 and 3 would have a high level, and then the speaking of the detail pieces for each, and then 3 and 4, so on, or 4 and 5, and 6 and 7, so on. So I'm going to have another resource for you guys to watch as far as how you put the presentation together. But if you keep the audience in mind, you cannot go wrong. The deliverables for the project is one PowerPoint presentation. I'll show you where to download the files here off of Blackboard. Um, the content that's included is Cougar Connections art. So there is going to be some artwork, some branded artwork that we have to add to your presentation. What I'd like you to do is actually put that presentation together in PowerPoint. You can use images, like maybe you find some images online, that's cool too. I will provide some images to you that you can use. I will provide some video you can put into your presentations too. If you wanted a little bit of that testimonial feel, right, of a student speaking about the program and you wanted to play it in your presentation. The number of slides for each presentation should be 10, including the title and closing slides. So you have 8 content slides that you're building from scratch. The title slide and the end slide, I'd like you to kind of, tweak that a little bit too to make it your own. But it's essentially just going to be the title in the end, and then the thank you at the end. That's typically what people will do for your closing slide. Presentations should use content from the following sources as well. Other sources are okay too, but I just wanted to give you a starting guide here. If you actually hit Control click or Command click on a Mac, hold Control on a PC and click this to visit these links, or Command click on a Mac. I know there's Mac users here. You will be able to go to these resources. This is content from the Midstate page that you will just be able to learn more about the program. I would use the Midstate page to learn about the program as well. There's also a document that has marketing data that I wanted to, and then maybe you could get some other data online. Make sure you cite the sources though. To cite sources, you basically just want to put it very small in the bottom of the slide, for where you're citing your sources. You could also make a slide at the end of the presentation or put it on the thank you slide, and then it just says sources, and then you just put bullet of all the sources that you've used elsewhere. So if you've got some from a website, you could cite those sources. I could show you could go to any website here. What I go to is easybib.com. That'll create a citation for you. I'm pretty sure you could also go to chat.openai.com. So Edge, you should be able to do this in ChatGPT too, I believe. Let me just make sure that you can though. Let me go ahead and see. Let me see. Let me copy this link. Create a citation for the following video on the following web page. Let me see if it does this. Oh, it can't do that. Let me see. To create a citation. Okay, got you. Okay, so it's saying how you can cite it here. You would just say the video title, if it's a video, the video year and month in this quote in the same format here, and then you would say, well, the video title could be here. I'm not sure what this would be. Oh, this is the author. So the author would be this first part of the citation. If it's a YouTube video, this part would be the date. So the author in this video, which I have actually linked for you guys, it's going to give you some tips on how to give an effective presentation. I think it's a really great video. Andrew Lasavita. So if you were to source that, you put Andrew Lasavita here. You would put the date of the video, which is shown in the description. Maybe not. It says, December 31st, 2019. So you put that there. 2019, comma, December 31st, and then you'd put the name of the video, and then you'd put video in brackets. So you'd say how to give a presentation in a job interview. Put that here. Then you'd put brackets video dot, and then you'd say YouTube, and then you'd put it there. So yeah, so that's how you would do it. So if you use something outside of what we have, create citations out of it. You can also create them here in EasyBib as well. Let's see. What else? Hold on one second here. Okay. Yes, and then lastly, make sure that in your presentations, most of the things you are going to say are printed and taped to your screen somehow, so that most of the information you speak about is verbal. The slides are not meant to be something to read off of. Some people would do like little notes in their PowerPoint presentation. The problem with that is that if you only have one screen, then in your presentation, you will actually see at the bottom of the screen, on the top of the screen, you see the PowerPoint slide, but at the bottom of the screen, you'd see the notes section. And then it would have all the notes. So it would basically be like all the words that the person that's presenting is speaking on the screen. So everyone would be reading along, and that defeats the purpose. So if you don't have dual screens, then you're going to have to hide the notes section on your PowerPoint, pull it up full screen, and then go through your presentation while it's recording. But you're going to have a little piece of paper or some note cards or something like that. Now, I have my hands up mid-chest right here, right now. And I could hold up a card here like this, and no one can even tell. I'm holding it up right here. I'll hold my remote control. This is where it is. It's like right here, mid to my chest, like where my pocket is. So you could have a paper here, and no one would even know that you were glancing down at your paper while you're looking at the camera. As you're presenting, look at the camera like it's a person. That's always hard for me to do, especially when I'm reading through documents with you guys and we're like following along. But if I am like giving a speech or something or a presentation, I could have my paper here. I could be sit back, look at the camera, and have my paper. It could be on an easel or an iPad or something like that, and I could, almost no one would know that I'm reading notes if I was doing a lot of eye contact with the camera. So that's really important too, because again, like you are a you are the product, so you are selling, especially in the education industry, you're the product, so what you're selling you have to be demonstrating, as you're giving that, especially if you're presenting for the marketing program and any program for that matter. I mean, no one wants to learn from someone that doesn't come across as enthusiastic about what they're talking about in anything, not only in education, but in anything. Have you ever, I don't know if you've ever gone to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress was, unenthusiastic about the food. You could tell the difference. Like if you ask someone, "Oh, what are your specials today?" Oh, well, oh, what do we have? Hold on, I'll be right back. And they go back to the kitchen like, oh yeah, so we got the broccoli cheese soup today with this, that, and the other thing. We have clam chowder, blah blah blah. Or the other person you ask, what are your specials for today? Oh yeah, we have a very delicious and amazing clam chowder soup. We have a grandma's fresh broccoli cheddar soup, blah, blah, blah. You could tell like one person's more enthusiastic, the other person's less enthusiastic. Which person is going to bring the better tasting food to your table? It could be both the same food, but you are going to appreciate the food from the enthusiastic person more than you are from the person that's been unenthusiastic about it. You're gonna be like, oh, this food is okay. The person that was enthusiastic, you're gonna say, oh, this is pretty good. You know, but all things being equal, enthusiasm is the only difference. That could be a huge influence on people. I think perception is very key when it comes to some of these things, and that's really what marketing is perception. It's perception is reality. So that is even more even more important in our society today. Okay, so artwork. If you click on this folder, you're going to see all of the artwork I have here, all in JPEG format. I have logos and paws for the Cougar paw, the Cougar Connections URL. So I'll just show you kind of like what some of this stuff looks like. You can download it with these. Let's see. Well, actually, you would just click on it and then you can click and drag it onto a desktop, or you can right click and do like a save image as here, and then you could save it onto your desktop. And then from there, you can drag it into PowerPoint and use it. Don't drag everything out onto your desktop and just make a mess of just desktop icons everywhere. What you want to do is just create a folder on your desktop, call it Cougar Connections Presentation, right? Then make a subfolder in that folder and then call that folder images. So you'll have Cougar Connections folder on your desktop, nice and neat. Inside, you're going to have an images folder. Inside of the images folder, what you'll do is you'll click and save as each of these images into it. From Cougar Connections artwork to Midstate images, these are just going to be some sample images of people in marketing sitting around the table, looking at computer, looking happy, things like that. Just kind of stock art, things to fill in some gaps and make the presentation look interesting and engaging in some way, shape, or form. I definitely think when you're messing with images of people are incredibly effective in marketing pieces. Um, feel free to get stuff online that you might like better. Just watch out for any of the watermarks and stuff on there. If you have something with a watermark in your presentation, that's totally fine because it's essentially for education purposes. So there's no copyright issues there, okay? Now, if you are going and presenting on behalf of Procter and Gamble, and you are, trying to sell to a client for millions of dollars, don't use a copywritten image in your presentation. I think it's probably best served if you spend the $15 to download the image, just to avoid, because when you deal with money, when money is in the equation, that's when copyright becomes an issue. When money is not in the equation, and there is no business transaction whatsoever, that's where copyright becomes an issue. So, but since we're in an educational setting, copyright is not an issue when it comes to images. However, um, copyright is an issue when it comes to content and sources. So when you need to cite sources, when your information is coming from an outside source, your information, it needs to be cited. Okay, that's what bibliographies are for your papers and all that. But you all know that. So, and that I'm just reiterating that goes the same with presentations as well. It's the same thing. We have some video files here that you can bring in, so you can actually take these and download them. Save video as here. All I did was right click that. You should be able to, oh, I can't drag that over, but yeah, you'll have to open that and then download it that way. Okay. And then the PowerPoint template document, you should just be able to click on this and then it will download for you automatically here. Windows kind of changed their thing recently. Once I click on that, it'll pop open a folder here. And I think this is actually just Chrome what changed. Instead of on the bottom showing you where it's saved, as far as the downloads, it brings it up here. So what I typically do is hit show in folder. Once I download that, I see that icon download up here. And then once I hit the drop down show in folder, it's going to open up my downloads folder automatically on my machine. And then it's just going to show up at the very top here. So this is the PowerPoint template that you guys will start out with. So let me double click that. Okay. So here's a couple of sample slides here. Once I enable editing, you can see I have, you started out with a couple things here. I have a video here embedded already. But, essentially what you'll do is go to slideshow. You'll go to slideshow and then you'll just play from the beginning. Now I have two screens, so it's showing up the main one on my big screen, but on my next screen, let me see if I can actually show that to you, what that looks like. On my second screen over, oh gosh, hold on, guys. Okay, I'm going to show you the other screen. So here's what the other, so since I have two screens here, this screen is not what you want, because right here is where the notes would show up. So I think as you're building the presentation, build the presentation with the notes, okay? But when you present it and bring it full screen, make sure that it's not showing this. Make sure that under display settings, let's see, in slideshow, let me try that again. Um, play from beginning. Let me see here. Let's see all slides. Yeah, you want to make sure that you don't have these notes showing. If you have trouble with that, just let me know. And then we'll work through that. Let me go ahead and share that other screen I was doing again. Okay. All right, and to add notes here, what you can do is drag your mouse down, and then you'll have like this line here, this very thin line. You just click and drag this to open up your notes section. And then so here, you could, as you're building this out, build it with the notes. It makes it easier, like, hi, my name is Andrew. Talking about how the digital marketing program can simplicity seeker aspect, right? Can get you into a career within a marketing organization or a job as the head marketer in any industry. Now I'm just popping stuff in here as far as ideas. Right, so simplicity seeker aspect, this is high level. Um, what is digital marketing, right? And then we'll go to next slide. And then I'll bring in, and then I can bring in a picture and stuff like that. This is essentially, it's been a while since I've done PowerPoint, you all. Here we go. I'm always in InDesign now. Okay. Something like that. I do like to make my text kind of fun. Although the design tools in this program are not that fun. You got to be super. So see how, I'm trying to make this text a little bit more engaging by sizing it differently and things like that. I'm not saying you have to do that, but these are little tricks that you can use to actually make your presentations in the future, not necessarily for this assignment. I don't want you all to agonize over typography because this is not necessarily a typography class, okay? But this gives you an idea of, okay, if I were just to have this on screen, that's reasonably interesting. It's a little bit different. I think the spacing, and I agonize over text. This is just how I am. This is just what I do. So, you know, this is how I would edit it. I would go through this process um, of like really like tightening some of this stuff up, making it perfect and whatnot. But this is essentially like a little bit more interesting. Imagine a little photo or a couple cougar paws, here marching around. Okay, that could be interesting. A picture of a person with this text over like the face, essentially might be pretty cool. Now, you don't want to cover their eyes or things like that, but it's more of an art than a science, right? So it can't like look too too much of an obstruction on the image, but this is kind of where you will use some of that visual graphic judgment as you're building the presentation. But essentially what we're doing here is then leading in from one slide, well, what is digital marketing? Going into the digital marketing slide. Well, digital marketing is, and then you can go into the content that we have um, shared here. Now, if you go to learning plan in our week and under assets and resources, I have the links to, oh, Gosh, oh, a marketing data report here. So this is a little asset that you can use to pull some data about marketing. Granted, it is from 2020, so these guys have something new. So that's why I'm asking you guys to like cite the source and things like that in the presentation. Put a little source and then cite it. Tell me, where you got it from, and not only tell me, but just tell the world where you got it from, just so you can get used to doing that as you build out presentations and things. So that hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea, okay, of how to get you guys going and get you guys started. What I want to do is also let you know that as you are presenting, your camera is going to be on, okay? So um, uh, here, actually, I don't want to leave you hanging. What I want you to do under this assets and resources folder where I showed you to navigate earlier here, let me just go back through it. Week 6, assets and resources. We just looked at the artwork folder with all that content and stuff that I showed you in the PowerPoint template itself. Um, assets and resources here, marketing data report. So this is going to be, give you some information, although it's a little bit old, you can use it. And you could say, as of, like a little footnote, as data as of 2020. You could put that even in a footnote at the bottom corner too. It doesn't have to be like super obtrusive either. As long as it's there, it's okay. That's just sort of the rule. It could be like legal copy, if you will, or the superscript copy is very small. I have the background, but right here, virtual presentation tips. I'm gonna actually move this up. If you grab that one, open this up. This is a document that I put together um, to show you. So I'm asking you guys to have your cameras on because I want you to you're like dress like how you would in an actual presentation to these students, okay? Um, something like what I'm wearing, like, okay, like this is technically like business casual, but because it's a button down, for guys, so it doesn't have to be like a tie or anything, but just some kind of like a button down shirt thing. I think that's pretty much what it is. I don't tuck in my stuff, or I'm not saying any of that. Just kind of casual but businessy, So a button down, that's pretty much what I'm looking for as far as the guys. As far as the girls, like, you don't have to do like the whole blazer thing, or just like some kind of button thing, that y'all wear. That would be fine too. But think about your audience. That's the most important part. Like, show your audience, how you address and present to them. For me, my office has like artwork on the walls because I present myself as a person that is more on the creative side. Now if I was like a international business finance person, okay, I'd probably have different stuff around here. I'm not sure what I would have. Probably a lot of wood, furniture and things of that nature, but that's just not what I am. So thinking about your audience and things like that, that's the important thing. Okay, so the reason why I'm going into all that is because your cameras are going to be on while you're giving the presentation, because that's just the nature of giving a presentation now, especially in the virtual. It's very much like in the real life, where you see the person and they're standing on a podium in real life, and then there's a projector behind them with the PowerPoint thing going on. Well, that's the same situation here, except we're sitting in our houses or whatever. But what you're going to want to do is change your background in Teams. So like before you start out and record this thing, click on that. I'm giving you the process to apply the backgrounds to your presentation. If if you want to just use a blurred out background of your space, that's cool too. If you feel like your space is conducive to the audience that would be effective to them, that's good too. I can tell you that for the Cougar Connections in reality, we ask all the representatives of Cougar Connections to actually apply the mid-state background to their screens. So that is the process of doing that is outlined here. How to share your screen on Teams is outlined here. Then we go into the effective presentation concepts, which is that video that I just referenced that I shared. So all the bits of information are based on very helpful video. Call all the bits of information that I have below here, just to give you tips on how to do more, better, better presentations. I have a link, and this is like a synopsis of what you will learn in the video, but the video is about 20 minutes long, and I want you all to watch this video. And this man, Andy Lasavita, he gives tips. He gives tips on how to give presentations in a job interview. However, I think it is very relevant because I think what he talks about is relevant for all presentations, not necessarily just job interview presentations, but all presentations. And I think if you watch this video, you will, by virtue, become a better presenter because of the strategy that he provides here. And one thing he does say is that most of the time he spends on presentations is the prep. The actual delivering of the presentations, it takes him, as you know, 1 or 2 takes virtually. Okay, so keep that in mind. And I have a little bit, and these are just a little review notes here. Okay, from the video, I'll just cover them really quick though. Move your hands and body like you are presenting. This will help you remain enthusiastic, be authentic. Try not to wave your hands in front of the screen on purpose. Even if you're moving your hands outside of the screen, it's great. The point is that movement helps your body be more enthusiastic. I do this a lot too, especially when I am not in front of a class of students. Although I will talk with my hands in front of a class of students too. That's just kind of, you know, I don't know, it's part of what I do. But it really helps when you're behind the screen because um, you're not really talking to anybody. You're not seeing who you're talking to or seeing reactions or whether or not your information is coming across accurately. And you don't want to, it's hard to stay enthusiastic when you are just talking on screen. And you don't feed off the energy of other people. And so I think it's very helpful tip to keep in mind. And I never really thought of that really before I started watching that video or, doing a lot of online courses. Your introduction. You want to start out with who you are. Here's what I'm going to cover. Here's a quick outline of, what I'll cover with you is this, right? So that's really the simplicity seeker aspect. Who I am is, of course, who you are, your credentials and things like that, why you should be listening to me and so on and so forth. What I'll cover is this is what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you the top 10 secrets to be a successful entrepreneur. I'm going to give you the top 10 reasons why you should join the digital marketing program in the fall. I'm going to give you the top 20 skills you're going to need in the future of marketing and what you can do about them right now. Okay, that's what I'll cover. That's that part. That kind of gets people like engaged and interested. Then a quick outline. I'm going to show you this by A, explaining to you what marketing is. B, I'm going to explain to you of where marketing is going. And C, I'm going to explain to you one thing you can do today to get started, or so on and so forth. And then this is how excited I am to communicate with you. Andy Lasavita goes through all this stuff in his video. It was really effective. He's a great presenter, very enthusiastic. You're gonna, I don't personally get bored watching him. He's very enthusiastic. All right, let's move on. How are you going to say it? The 6 C's. So communication. Are you articulate, smooth? What is coming out of your mouth is what is coming out of your mouth making sense. I think the movement, the body movement helps with what is coming out of your mouth as far as making sense. How do you carry yourself? Are you enthusiastic, energetic, professional? Um, so yeah, just be comfortable in yourself, in your delivery, be confident in that. Comfort, are you coming across as comfortable doing what you're doing? I think comfort piece comes with you as being the product, right? Are you believing in what you're saying? It goes back to that the waiter waitress example. Is the waiter or waitress confident in how they're carrying themselves, enthusiastic, and are they also comfortable in answering your questions, or are they not coming off as they don't want to be there or they're having a bad day or something like that. If you're having a bad day, don't record the presentation, wait till the next day, or let me know. I'd be happy to, say, oh, that's okay. I'll give you an extra day or whatever to do the presentation if you don't feel comfortable. I don't want you to like get in front of the camera and be in a bad mood or have, um, you know, um, have outside influences affecting your presentation because it's a recorded presentation, so it's not live. So why fuss over it? Construction, this is the piece that he talks about that I was actually talking about too in our slides, is that the 1/3, 2/3 rule. Is your presentation telling a cohesive story, and do the slides look designed well? 1/3, 2/3. The 1/3 is of basically text. 1/3 of the slide is text. So in my example here, this is approximately 1/3 of the slide is text. The rest is image or empty space. Here's another slide. Yeah, that's about 1/3 is about text here. I'll say, let me put a title there, and then we'll jump and we'll jump this into this slide. So yeah, that's about 1/3 of the image here is text. Actually, maybe even a little bit less. And then the rest is imagery or content. If you count this text that he's holding in the boxes, that's probably about 1/3-ish. If you include the whole box that he's in general, that's about 1/3. This is an embedded video. Okay, but that's very much a lot of imagery and hardly any text. So you don't see like bullet points going on and on and on like that in something like that. And I'm not, there are a couple bullet points. I'm not saying, okay, put, bullet points in this column. That's fine, but I would say, that many, 4. And then speak to the rest. Maybe if you need to put details within this bullet point, like details of what this bullet is specifying. I probably maybe would do that, but then I'd reduce these amount of bullets here. Okay, or I would just clean out all the details in and of themselves. I just keep the bullets and then I'd speak to the details. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can't put everything on each slide. It's not good to because it's going to hurt your engagement. That's why you have your voice, and you're not going to be talking for over an hour. It's not going to be, it's not that long of a presentation. You're just going to go through 10 slides, so it's going to be very quick. I'm not saying race through it. I'm saying probably, give yourself, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe something like that. Do a minute a slide, 2 minutes a slide, not counting the first and the last one. Okay, you're looking at what? I can't do math. 16 minutes, I think. Something like, yeah, 16 minutes at 2 minutes a slide. So yeah. Let's see. So that's goes to the construction piece. Um, content, is the information and sequencing of your presentation natural as far as the flow and relevance of the information? Is it rolling out naturally? So that's kind of where I was talking about in the beginning, from the high level to the granular detail stuff. If you start high level, what is the world of marketing today, going down to how is the mid-state program in marketing going to help you achieve that real world marketing, you know, uh, position or career. Compelling. Are you making a logical and compelling argument in order to get people you are presenting in front of you to take action? The action we want them to take is to actually join and get into it, the program. And then the conclusion, recap the presentation, and then give that call to action, which is like, contact us today at mscc.edu to register. Okay, very simple. That's about it. Those are some of the tips, but definitely use this document, the virtual presentation tip sheet, to get your background going on in there for your camera. Let me know if there's issues with that. We can probably work through it. And then click on this video and then watch Andy Lasavita talk about his how to present and create a good presentation. Adopt some of those characteristics for your presentation. Become a killer presenter. Don't be nervous. And then you know get on camera, drop the mic, and then turn the assignment in. The assignment is due on March 17th. I believe it's in the assignment sheet. That's the last day of class. That's in 16 days. Let me see. Where's my assignment sheet? Sorry. Okay. Let me make sure it's on here. Yes, it's due the last day of class, March 17th before midnight. So it's all there in the document. In the project assignment, you could turn your projects in here. Your PowerPoint file should be small enough to upload there. If it's not, you can send it to me through wetransfer.com. Just go to, here's the website, wetransfer.com. And then this is a free service. You will be able to fit that presentation in here because this can send up to 2 GB files. All you have to do is you could hit this ellipses down here and then hit a get transfer link. Otherwise, it'll email it to me through WeTransfer, but getting the transfer link is sometimes easier because then it'll just give you a link you can copy. So get transfer link, click the ellipses again, then you can upload your files. And then once this link turns blue, it'll turn blue after the file's uploaded. You just hit get link, and then it'll give you a link, and you copy that, and you just send it in an email. That's if you're having trouble uploading the PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry, the video of you delivering the PowerPoint presentation in and of itself. Actually, I don't think you're going to probably be able to upload the video. So you can either upload it to YouTube and copy the link and then send it to me and turn that in, or you can send the video to me via the WeTransfer link here. Also, going back to Blackboard, one of the last things under assets and resources, I have 2 past student presentation examples. Okay, so you can click on those and see them. Let me just make sure this one's working. Yep, that one's working too. Okay, so that is what I have for you all today. Just let me know if you all have questions, and we can go from there. All right. Have a great day. Thank you guys.